Okay, so here goes about my opinions about vaccinations during this COVID pandemic. Now, I've been basically putting it off because I was thinking, is it relevant? Is it necessary? It's my opinion. And I'm not into trying to force other people to do things and just listen to my viewpoint and change things and debate them. I'm not into the apologetic side of things, but I thought I'd share my viewpoint and it might be able to assist some folk in seeing the reality of my thinking and might be able to help them with their decision making. So my profession was I'm a dental surgeon, so you might be asking, what does a dentist know about vaccinations? I think it's probably the same amount that a medical doctor would know, because most of us would read journals, we'd read articles with peer reviews, and we take that and we have anecdotal sort of proofs, when people have vaccinations. A lot of the research is actually happening in laboratories. All the top pharma are doing this research, then they come out with papers and they do peer reviews. As the typical layperson, we don't sit down and we go like, this is messenger RNA and that is DNA and this should work like this. We literally read the articles and we take what's said there as often fact. Now, I've got to just state this up front. I'm going to give you a bit of insight as to how the immune system works and what the role of vaccines are supposed to be in this whole scenario. And you can look it up on YouTube and see a lot of these sort of factual things about how vaccines work per se. But I've got to set the basis here why I don't take the vaccine. When I was a small kid, I didn't have a say. My parents would take me to the clinics and we'd be vaccinated against different things. I'm not against vaccine and I'm not for vaccine. I'm talking about my viewpoint at this stage. I'm getting close to my 60s and I've been on this earth for quite a while, so I've researched a lot of things. I understand a lot of things. I don't understand a lot of things. And this is just the view that I carry. When anybody comes to you, and this is just a fact of life, when anybody comes to you and says, I want you to take this car, okay? And if you have any problems, don't come back to me and you cannot sue me for anything that goes wrong. Or buy this appliance. If it doesn't work, I don't put my name on it. If it doesn't work, you can't sue me, you can't claim from me. I have total abdication of my responsibility towards this product I'm putting out there. If somebody comes to do that with me, with a car, with a music set, with a TV, with a computer, I'll say, please, I don't want to do business with you. Okay. If you pick up any bit of medication at the moment, be it a headache tablet, you'll read this long list of side effects and everything because they have to give you the facts and the tests that they've done. Now, when it comes to vaccinations, there's something quite sort of eerie that exists with it, with all vaccinations. Pharmaceutical companies and governments, agencies and so forth, within the laws of basically every country, they cannot be held liable, or they aren't held liable for anything that goes wrong. Because the way I understand it is that pharmaceutical companies say that vaccines are never a 100% proven thing. It is always experimental and ongoing, etc. So no vaccine that you take is covered by a full-on guarantee from the supply of the vaccine. So that is a scary part of the thing. Whether it works perfectly or doesn't work, that's not the issue. The fact that whoever's producing it doesn't carry any liability for the things going wrong, that's what scares the daylights out of me. Okay, so on that premise, I'd never get something where the person who's giving it to me cannot validate that they stand behind it fully. Specifically something that gets into my body. Now, if it's a substance that I drink and I maybe have too much of it and I can have an antidote against it, that kind of will sort of almost help me through making sense of all of this. But what we're dealing with now in this COVID pandemic thing is that we are being given a messenger RNA and a DNA sort of vector, they call it DNA vector substances, but we are giving things that are genetically manufactured. This is not a protein of a attenuated virus, a virus that's maybe been killed or part of the virus. There's different types of vaccines. The vaccines that we're used to are basically vaccines that have been formed from inactivated viruses or proteins of that viruses that get in the body. What we are dealing with now is a manufactured messenger RNA. So they look at analytics of the particular virus, they manufacture it, and it gets into the body into little, whatever they call it, nano oil droplets, and gets into the cell, tells the cell this is the combination of what the virus looks like, give them the option to develop it. I get scared about that part, first of all, in the genetic level. Okay, just my personal, just high level looking at it. But I think the biggest premise is my point I've mentioned, that if you're giving that, if that's experimental, everything that's vaccine related has taken 5, 8, 10 years because of the testing and the researching. This one has come through in about a year, year and a half. So that already is alarm bells for me. Okay, so just for those of you, as I close up this part, just to understand why I'm making this decision and why I believe that our immune systems are actually the key to everything. Now, the reason why you take a vaccine is to give your immune system, now listen to what I'm saying, the reason you take the vaccine is to give your immune system the heads up to say, wow, this is what's going to come your way. So now get your body to form the antibodies for it. So I'm not going to go into the immunology of it, the antigens and antibodies, but all it's doing is saying, yeah, we're putting it into your body, but what we're putting in your body is not going to cause too much damage to your body as far as inflammatory responses are. Because remember, anything that's put in your body that's a foreign substance is going to create a bit of immune response. But there's not going to be that much sort of disturbance, but your immune system is going to have the chance to form these protective antibodies and T cells and all the stuff there. So we're giving them a chance. Once they've kind of got the template of what's going, they will destroy these little foreign bodies, which really isn't effective of causing any issue in your body. So when the real McCoy comes along, then they are going to be able to be switched on so quickly because they already have this template to come about. Okay, so that's the idea of how vaccines work, is you're giving your body heads up. Now, the reason why people get a bit sick when they take certain vaccines is because anything put into the body that's foreign, the body's going to react to it. It starts to say, like even if you get a mosquito bite, you'll see it starts to swell up because it's inflammation. Inflammation, you have mast cells going there. You know, when people have allergies, they take antihistamines. Now, histamine comes from the mast cells. It actually goes to the site. It causes inflammation. It gets warm in that area. For example, if there was a virus there, it would be able to make the environment very uncomfortable for the virus to live in that warm area. So just the normal body response to a foreign substance is going to cause the body to react in a way, and you're going to have a bit of sort of untoward things. So people who are getting these vaccines will have sometimes a little bit of a fever because your body is reacting to it, even though the vaccine substance is not attacking the body as a real live virus. It's creating already that sort of response. Now let's look at the situation when a real virus comes into the body. And this is where things matter. If your body's immune system is not strong enough to fend off against any virus, could be coronavirus, COVID, whatever. If it's not strong enough, and that's why if you maybe overweight, if you have diabetes, if you have a metabolic syndrome, all these conditions in your body, your liver's been compromised with how you've been living your life, etc. If that situation exists and you have a live virus coming in, by the time the body goes back, if I can just show you, goes back to go and manufacture the antibodies, the time it takes to do that, the viruses are replicating at such a rapid rate that it's starting to cause destruction of your cells. That's why your breathing starts to get a problem. Everything in the body starts to go down. You start to get quite sick and all that sort of stuff, because it's in that period that the infection happens and the antibodies have to be developed. Now, if your immune system is already compromised, like I said, with this metabolic things, then that health of yours drops rapidly. That's why people who are on in age where their immune systems are compromised, where they have weight issues, they have diabetes, they have metabolic syndrome, it's dangerous for them to be exposed because their body still will manufacture the antibodies, but that period between getting the exposure and going to manufacture sufficient to clear up everything is where the danger period is. Okay, and remember, if they manufacture sufficient and they go and take it out and they kill it, they'll destroy all of the attacking viruses. But if the destruction that they've caused while they were on the go is going to be of a permanent nature, like if you're having polio, by the time you get the antibodies to sort it out, they've already caused destruction and damage of a permanent nature. So in a case like that, the main thing that you're looking at is the compromise of the immune system. That is key. That's why people who are in that category should be taken care of in a more conscientious way. But the healthy person, the healthy individual whose immune system is there, they have nothing compromised, to give them the best option, in my opinion, is if they get the virus, they're going to have a bit of sickness. But before the sickness becomes sort of more aggressive in their bodies, the antibodies will be formed, they'll sort it out, and then they'll have immunity going forward. The best immunity for anybody is if they got infected by the actual virus and they formed their own immunity to it, not a fabricated one. That's why you've got to go for the first COVID messenger RNA vaccination, and you have got to go for a second one. And that's also not guaranteed. You might have to go for a third and fourth. That's just going to depend when the pharma companies say, oh no, I think we need a third and fourth, because that's millions and billions for them. Out of our entire population, 99% of the population will recover from this. There's that 0.001% that would possibly get to a point that there'll even be fatalities, which is sort of common if you're going to have situations of this nature, if you have compromise. And if you look at it, probably over 80% of the people that passed away are in excess of 70, 75 years of age with health conditions. The only unfair thing now is that if somebody dies of something that is not related to COVID, people have been clumping it into that same bucket, which is kind of totally unfair on society, because we are getting misrepresentation of what the conditions are and what's actually happening. It's like flu doesn't exist during this COVID period. It's all of a sudden flu doesn't exist. However, people have been dying of flu for years already. So those numbers have been pulled into the COVID space now. So we're not saying that COVID is not deadly. Flu is deadly. Tuberculosis is deadly. HIV is deadly. They're all deadly if your body is in a compromised situation. But do you not isolate that sector of the public that is sensitive, that have compromised situations? Isolate and protect them. And the ones who are healthy, they're the ones that will form immunity. Remember, we get exposed to hundreds of thousands of viruses and bacteria through our lifetimes, and our immune systems work perfectly with it. Man is coming along and saying, I want to help. However, Yahweh has created our bodies, our creators put things together. They want to help by force feeding our bodies with a genetic thing that's going to help us to identify this virus. Why not leave your body to do it? And if the stats were against us, like if there was 20% of all populations dying from this, like I think it was the Spanish flu or something like that, then you could say, okay, we need to be much more aggressive in how we deal with it. But when the population is literally a 99.9% recovery from this situation, and you are now wanting to jump off onto a synthetic vaccine that you haven't, they've said it's been tested, but you know how the news media and all these pharma go, they make these big claims, and then a few years later things don't work out, and then they switch it around. The key thing as I close is to say, if the pharmaceutical companies and government institutions are prepared to say that they will back the vaccines in the fact that they will take full liability if there are any consequences, then I would open my mind to more considerations. But as long as that's in place, I am not putting my life into that space. I'm at peace with my Creator. If I have to get an infection and I die, I'll be happy to be with Him. But I'm not taking something that I'm going to still live on and have a possibility of living with a defective life. There are people that have had palsies, there are people that have paralysis. There's been incredible amount of things that have been covered up as far as the side effects of these vaccines are concerned. They've even pulled off the market for certain things. These things haven't been that tested. I am rather going to die of the actual conditions if my body can't cope with it, rather than taking a untested, unproven thing and then find myself living with a disability for the rest of my life. I'd never be able to live comfortably in that way. Okay, so that's my take on it, and maybe that perspective will help you. Maybe you think I'm a proponent of anti-vax or vax or whatever it is, but that's just the reason why I'm not taking anything. It's based on those particular aspects, and hopefully that gives you sort of insights as to maybe what you can think about the situation. My closing point is just do the due diligence, check it for yourself, through all the clutter, get through the clutter and see things. One thing that's woken me up a few years ago was the fact that many years ago we were told, for example, in our diets, eat carbohydrates, it's healthy for you, gives you energy and everything. And today we know that carbohydrates are compound sugars. All they have done is filled our bodies with over toxicity of sugars in our diets. And that's what's caused most of these metabolic issues that we have now, from your diabetes to your fatty livers and all that sort of stuff. So what they were promoting a few years ago is now the evil of the future. So I'm not going to take what they're promoting now as being the total solution. Time will only tell that. But the logic that I've shared with you is what I believe, and hopefully it will help you to make a good decision for yourself. So, the Bible says, as for me and my household, we will serve Yahweh. That same stance stands for me. As for me and my household, we have made a decision not to take any of these vaccines at all. We're trusting in our Creator, and we're trusting in the perfect immune systems that He's given us. And all we are doing is taking care of our bodies, keeping it at peak health, eating properly, taking care of it, physically exercising, getting enough sunlight, and keeping healthy. Because when that virus comes, if it does come, our bodies will be able to form the best solution, the best antibodies against that attack. I'm not giving my life over into another human being who's busy experimenting with things. So bless you, and have a fantastic day, and let's look forward to an exciting life, an exciting, happy life. Until Yeshua comes to come fetch us, we'll be blessed on the earth. Shalom to you all.